things you're going to hear today, you probably haven't heard before. And it goes kind of against the grain, against what a lot of the popular weight loss programs teach. So the first thing I want to kind of answer is why. Okay, because that's a question I get asked a lot, so I figured let me cover it in the beginning so we get that out of the way. Think about it. We're able to send a man to the moon and back, and we can't solve the weight problem. And the weight problem, technically it's a lot easier problem to solve than sending a man to the moon. So the question is, why? How can we solve the problem of sending a man to the moon, and we can't solve a weight problem? Because technically speaking, all you have to do is look at what's the difference between now that we have a weight problem and before we had a weight problem. And look, what's the difference? And it's it, done. So here's why though. When Kennedy asked that, I don't think it was NASA at that time, but let's call it the space agency, to send a man to the moon, okay? He didn't tell them, well, listen, we want to send a man to the moon, but we want you to use this material, this fuel, and by the way, make sure you make a profit on the way out. He didn't say that. He said to them, listen, send them into the moon. I don't care how and what you're going to do, but figure it out. Now, if you look at the weight loss industry, that's not the way, unfortunately, we're trying to solve the weight problem. Look at who's involved in trying to solve the weight problem. Most of the weight loss programs, Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem, Weight Watchers, the popular ones, are owned by food companies. So they have all these weight loss companies that, or they're selling food, or they're selling supplements, or they're selling equipment. So they're trying to solve the problem using only what they're selling. If I'm not selling, if the solution's outside what I'm selling, I don't care. Okay? And if you look at 90% of the things that you see on TV, whether it's the news or websites or the radio, okay, somebody has paid for the information to be there. So if I'm a company that's selling meat, right, I'm going to promote all the benefits of eating meat. If I'm somebody that's promoting a dairy industry, I'm going to promote benefits of dairy products. So again, the company is going to spend money promoting what benefits them. Again, I'm not against profits, by the way, but just to give you an understanding why a lot of the things you're going to hear today you haven't heard before, because unfortunately, part of the solution to the weight problem, nobody profits. Except people like myself who are selling information. And that's why I'm not the only one that says this thing, but we don't have the $1 million budgets that food companies do. Okay? So I want to get that out of the way. So basically, your current shape is the sum of all your past and present behaviors. So if you are not in great shape, and you want to go from bad shape to a much better shape, you have to take a closer look at your current behaviors and say, okay, what am I missing? Now, first the first behavior you want to look at is activity behaviors. Okay? In other words, do you do activities that challenge your reaction time? If you do, you're going to have pretty good reaction. If you don't, the reaction is going to be deteriorating at a much faster rate than they have to. Okay? Next one, do you do activities that challenge your balance? Again, if you look at where I was raised, older people walked outside in very uneven ground. So older people had really good balance. Here, because we're walking flat ground, we don't really challenge our balance. So that's why as you get older, your balance goes much faster. So again, that's why that's important. Do you do activities that challenge your muscles? If you do, you're going to have much stronger muscles. If you don't, basically after the age of 25, the average person loses around 2 pounds of muscle every, I think it's around 10 years. Okay? But it doesn't have to be. Now, if you work in breaking rocks for a living, you don't have to worry about you challenge your muscle on a regular basis, which is great. But if you don't, you need to do something. And now, that something, though, doesn't have to kill you either. Or you just challenge your body a little bit more than what they used to. Do you do activities that challenge your cardiovascular system? Again, If you don't, it's going to deteriorate at a much faster rate than you have to. Now, back in the old days, we naturally did all that stuff. Nowadays, because of modern conveniences, we don't. And that's where exercise and fitness comes in. The issue that I have with a lot of personal trainers is that they're trying to kill people. You know, they think they're trying to join the next Olympic or something. And that is why they fail. Because if you just try to improve your health and be healthy and live a long, healthy life and lose some weight, you don't need to kill yourself. All you have to do is challenge your body a little bit more than what it used to. You keep doing that, and you're going to be in great shape. Actually, you do activities that take your muscles to the full range of motion. If you don't, the muscles will shorten, by the way. And they'll become tighter. And again, you don't need to spend 30, 40 minutes of stretching. You could spend 1-2 minutes of stretching. Okay? Now, so that's activity behaviors. Next one is actually thinking behaviors and beliefs. That makes a difference. In other words, do you believe that you can achieve your fitness goal? I'm sure you've heard the saying by Henry Ford, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Okay? So, are you a can-do or a can't-do person? Do you try to go after something and thinking, I'll give it a shot. I really don't think I can do it, but what the heck. If you go with that attitude, you're not going to achieve anything. Next one is, are you a positive thinker or a negative thinker? Okay, that makes a difference. If you think that, let's say you're trying to lose weight, and the attitude you got to have is, it's only a matter of time before I can achieve my goal. Instead of, I'll give it a shot. I don't think I can achieve it, but what the heck. And do you control your thoughts or your thoughts control you? That's a big one. I hear that all the time, I can't help myself, or that's who I am. If that's the way you are, and the way you are is not getting you to where you want to go, it's up to you to change. Because the question I always ask people is, who's in charge of you? You know? Is there somebody else in charge of you? No, you are in charge. So, all those are the things that you have to look at, and you can change all of them. Next one is dietary habits. It's a big one. You basically have two kinds. You have the what you eat and how you eat. Unfortunately, if you look at most of the diets today, all they do is they focus on what you eat. I call them two-dimensional. Because basically, they divide food into two groups. The healthy group and the unhealthy group. Okay? So, you want to avoid the unhealthy, and you want to eat more healthy ones. But the problem is, there's another whole dimension of proper nutrition, which is how you eat. How you eat plays as big of a role as what you eat. If not bigger, actually. Matter of fact, if you'd ask me what would be the most important thing, this I would say to you, I'd rather have you eat for the right reasons than eat the right food. I will go that far. Because, and by the way, let me explain exactly what that is how often do you eat? That makes a huge difference. Did you know you can eat the exact same food, but depending on how you eat it, can affect your health differently? The experiment that they did, I think I might have mentioned it before, is that they took two groups of people. They gave them the exact same food. Okay. Now, both groups, by the way, gave them plenty of food because the idea was not to lose weight. One group ate it, typical American diet, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks in between. Second group ate all their food in a 6-hour window. So they had 18 hours without food. Obviously, neither group lost weight. But the group that ate all the food in a 6-hour window and they had an 18-hour window with no food, tremendous difference in their blood work. Cholesterol, sugar, everything improved. How can it be? How can it be eating the same exact food and have two different results? Because nobody bothered looking at the fact that for a long period without food, it has tremendous benefits to your body. And yet, nobody teaches that. Why? Because nobody makes money if you're not eating. Really, it's that simple. Since I don't make money, nobody's really interested. I'll give you another example. Sumo wrestlers. Okay, people look at sumo wrestlers like, that's going to be an example of a good diet. They don't look exactly great. But did you know sumo wrestlers are extremely healthy? Extremely healthy. When they do MRIs, when you look at a typical overweight person, the fat is underneath the skin and around the organs. When the fat's around the organs, that's what causes the problems. When they do MRIs on sumo wrestlers, all their fat is underneath the skin, not in the organs. The organs actually are lean as any lean person. So how can it be? How can these people be overweight and yet be so healthy? By the way, it's still not good for their knees, but that's another conversation. Why? Because the sumo wrestlers, they eat all their food in a 4-hour window. And they overeat on purpose, by the way. And I find it funny because a lot of nutritionists say, you see, sumo wrestlers go for 20 hours without eating, and that's why they're overweight. No, they're overweight because they're overeating on purpose to gain weight. But because they have a 20-hour window with no food, the weight goes all under the skin and not around the organs. Amazing. And by the way, this goes better with how we used to eat in the old days. Back in the Stone Age, do we have food in every corner? Is it more likely that they used to eat less often or more often? The 3 meals a day is a recent invention, only been around for 100, 150 years. Before then, humans used to eat once or twice a day. Now that we're done from other problems, but that's another conversation again. Now, do you eat slow and mindful? Again, that makes a huge difference. Because if you eat slow and mindful, you get more pleasure out of less food. So you can actually end up eating less food without feeling deprived. Because that's the key thing is, how do you eat less without feeling deprived? So, and the reason slow and mindful eating will get you to that is because of this. When do you get pleasure from food? When the food's in your mouth. The longer you can keep each bite of food in your mouth, the more pleasure you get out of less food. Every single study ever done on slow and mindful eating, people end up eating less food without even being told to eat less. Every single time. It's never been an exception. The next one. Do you wait until you're hungry before you eat? That's a big one. Instead, what do they teach in nutritionists? Oh no, don't let your body go hungry. It's going to be the end of the world. Your body's going to shut down. It's going to go into starvation mode. Now let me cover that a little bit. Did you know that, how long you have to go without food before your body goes into starvation mode? 72 to 84 hours. And here they're telling us if you skip breakfast, you're going to gain fat. The benefits of prolonged period without food are tremendous. One of the main benefits, it makes your body more efficient at burning fat. Isn't that what we want? Right now, the way that we've been taught to eat, every 3 or 4 hours, we make our body more efficient using sugar as the main source of energy and not fat. Prolonged periods without food, that's one of the main benefits. It has tons of other ones too. Actually, it has positive effects on the brain. Don't you find it interesting that 40% of the people over the age of 70 in the United States, people suffer from some form of dementia, some mental disease? There's an island in Ikaria, in Greece actually, the island named Ikaria. They have 1/3 of the population is over the age of 90, and there's virtually no mental disease on the whole island. Amazing. They must have the perfect genes over there. Because that's what I hear all the time. Every time I bring this up, oh, they must have the perfect genes. I don't think so. They have a much better diet. Anyway, next. What determines how much you eat? The person that put the food on your plate? Counting calories? To me, counting calories is a complete waste of time. Because the question is, how long can you count calories for? 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? It becomes very tiresome. And besides, we truly don't know how many calories somebody needs to eat anyway. Because the main difference between people who gain weight easy and people who do not, actually is not metabolic rate. A lot of people think that they have a much faster metabolic rate, that's why they don't gain weight. Wrong. There's a small difference in that, but not enough of a difference to explain how can some people eat whatever they want and they don't get announced. Don't you hate those people?
Yeah.
The difference is this, absorption rate. You and I can eat the exact same calories, and my body is less efficient, which technically is a bad thing, and absorbs 500 calories less than your body. And your body will absorb all of them. Technically it's a good thing, because that means you can survive on less food than I can. And the only proven way to increase longevity is to decrease calories. So that, and the last one is the stress. How do you respond to stress? That makes a big difference. In other words, when you stress, do you eat when you stress? Or do you not eat when you stress? So again, that's a behavior that can be changed. Because a lot of people say, oh, I always eat, I'm an emotional eater. Yeah, you can change that though. There's no reason why you cannot change it. If there is a will, there's a way. If there's no will, there's always excuses. Okay? Do you have a healthy way to deal with stress? And so basically these are the 4 behaviors will make the biggest difference. Obviously there's other minor ones. And notice I didn't even mention genetics here. Because honestly genetics play a tiny little role. Less than 2% of the obese people in the United States is really something outside the control. 98% is within the control. But because it sounds better when we say, something, oh, that's the way my body is. This way I don't take responsibility for my actions. Okay? So the big question, okay, what controls your behaviors? Or who controls? Okay? Behaviors are controlled by 2 minds basically. Okay? The first mind has a very small control, only controls 5% of all your thinking and all your actions. That's your conscious mind. I call it the manual control. Okay? Controls 5% of your actions and thoughts and can process around 40 environmental stimuli per second. Sounds like a lot. Like you see the next one we control. Okay? It can be done immediately. That's one good thing about the conscious mind. You decide to do something, you go do it. You don't have to wait for anything. Okay? Requires willpower and motivation though. You gotta will yourself to go do something. It doesn't happen automatically. So basically that means it requires a lot of mental effort to do something manually. And because it relies on constant mental effort, you have a much higher chance of burning out. The other mind, that controls 95% of all your actions and thoughts, is the subconscious mind, the autopilot. We all come with autopilots, by the way. Okay? It controls 95% of your actions and thoughts, okay? That's what controls your habitual behaviors. And it can process some 20 million environmental stimuli per second. You see the difference? It's a huge difference between the 2 minds. The way that humans really were meant to be is something gets repeated. Eventually, the subconscious mind takes over. Like when you first learn how to drive a car, especially if you drove a stick. In the beginning, you had to really focus on what you were doing. Now, you can drive with your eyes closed. Well, you shouldn't do that, but you know what I mean.
The new car should be able to.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait for those cars. I hope they improve them, though. The negative thing is it takes time to train. So if you go into that method, yes, results will take a little longer. Okay? It requires no willpower or motivation. Except obviously in the beginning, okay, it requires initial mental effort to get the ball rolling. But eventually you repeat something enough times, your subconscious mind takes over and you don't have to worry about it. And by the way, this is the mind that people living in those healthy regions rely on. Think about this. When I lived in Greece, okay, we used to eat, but now it's as bad as here. But back when I lived in Greece in the 80s, we ate a diet high in fruits and vegetables. We walked a lot. We had a really good diet. Stress level was low. We didn't do any of those things though because you wanted to be in shape or you wanted to be thin. We did those things because that's what we did. Nobody, one of the tradition is after dinner in the summertime, you walk back and forth on the main street. Okay? We didn't do that because we wanted to be healthy. We did this because that's what we do. And same thing with our diet. We ate a very low meat diet, high fruits and vegetables, and the thought about weight loss, health, no, didn't cross anybody's mind. And at that time when I used to live there, thin was the norm, and people in their 90s lived healthy, productive lives. And by the way, there wasn't even a gym in my whole city. Now, by the way, we have 2 gyms, and we're the most overweight and healthy we've ever been. So, and that's the mind that you want to be in control. Now, let's take a closer look at the current methods of weight loss, at least most of them. Obviously, there's always exceptions. But if you look at the most popular ones, number 1, They focus on fast results because that's what sells. Everybody wants to lose weight by tomorrow. They rely on willpower and motivation because again, if you want fast results, you can't wait for the subconscious mind to take over. You gotta do it now. So you rely on willpower and motivation. What's the problem with those two things? They don't last forever. Sometimes you motivate to do something right, and sometimes you're not. High chance of burnout. Because again, motivation comes and goes. So if you go by how you feel, you're not going to always be consistent with your workouts, okay? And that's why over 95% of the people who lose weight gain the weight back. And the reason is, if you look at the current methods of weight loss, they rely on your conscious mind to do everything that needs to be done. Okay, they hardly ever talk about developing habits, and the problem is some of them, even if you wanted, you couldn't make it a habitual. In other words, it can never become habitual counting calories. Because counting calories require conscious thought. And that's why they always fail. To me, a quick question I tell people to ask themselves. Look at a weight loss program. If the weight loss program is asking you to do things that you cannot do for the rest of your life, don't even bother starting because I can tell you, you're going to gain the weight back. Okay? So, in order, they rely on this to get that. And that's why they fail. Because if you using conscious mind to count calories, to count points, to go to the gym, to motivate yourself to exercise, what happens? Remember, the conscious mind has very limited power. You're not enjoying life. Because you're spending all conscious moments thinking about what I'm going to eat next, what's for lunch, what's for dinner, I need to do this. That's why people will burn out. And by the way, the 5% of the people who are able to lose weight with the current methods of weight loss, I know quite a few of those people. The whole life is about fitness and health. Personally, I would rather be fat and overweight and enjoy life. Instead of thinking, constantly, oh my God, I can eat these calories, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to go to the gym. That's not life. But that's the only way right now you can actually get in shape and stay in shape is if you sacrifice all your conscious thought. Okay? The way that we suggest to live your way thin is slightly different. We focus on sustainable weight loss. It's going to take a little longer to get there, but once you get there, you'll be there. As a matter of fact, actually, I shouldn't even call it slow, because technically this is the fastest way to lose weight. You know why? Because you only have to do it once. I know people that have been losing weight the fast way for years and still avoid. So, obviously, it's not that fast. And the fun thing, you know what the funny thing is? I see people with all different kind of weight loss programs out there. They lose weight, they gain it back, and then they go back to the program. They do it again. They lose weight, they gain it back. And I ask them, what makes you think the third time or the fourth time of doing the exact same thing will get you any different results? And they always blame themselves. I find that really interesting that in our society, we always want to blame somebody else. But when it comes to diet, we always say, oh, the diet worked, but I wasn't strong enough to stay with it. If 95% of the people cannot stick with the current methods of weight loss, what is more likely? Something wrong with 95% of the population? Or is something wrong with the methods? And it's the methods. They go completely against human nature. That's one of the biggest reasons why we're failing as an industry. Okay? So we focus on helping you make sustainable changes in those 4 behaviors we talked about. Because all 4 behaviors are very, very important. Okay? Chances of burnout are very low. Because the way we work is we're focusing on changing one behavior at a time. And the scale, I look at the scale as the side effects. Remember, nobody has a weight problem. What we have is behavior problems. Weight is a symptom of our behaviors. So if you truly want to fix the problem permanently, you got to fix the root cause of the problem, which is your behaviors. Okay? And the great thing about it is that it's almost effortless to maintain the results. Because your habitual behaviors take over, and you don't think about them anymore. Okay? The best analogy I like to use is, everybody's familiar with a Boeing 747? Okay, big plane. Let's say you're the pilot. Plane takes off, and you try to go to Fiji on vacation. Okay? Plane takes off, and then you notice that the plane is turning and is going towards Antarctica. Okay? Because the previous pilot had set the autopilot to go to Antarctica. What would make sense? to just rev the wheel, no, it's not called wheel, called something else, and just turn it towards the direction you want to go and fight the autopilot all the way to Fiji, which most likely not going to make it because you have to be awake for many hours? Or would it make sense to take your time, reprogram the autopilot, and send yourself to the Fiji and let the autopilot do all the work? Well, it's the same thing with this. Wouldn't it make sense to take our time to train our subconscious mind to take us to where we want to go? Yeah, it takes a little longer, or at least seems to take a little longer. But at least once you get there, it's very easy to maintain. Yeah, you do have to be conscious every so often because unfortunately we're getting bombarded by messages to do the wrong thing. And that's why you do need to be a little vigilant to make sure you maintain the habits. But I can tell you one thing, it takes a lot less vigilance to maintain your shape if you're using your subconscious mind than if you're using your conscious mind.